Good morning. It's Sunday, day before Earth Day. I couldn't get out yesterday because when I looked up, it was already dark. We had so many chores at our little farm. So I apologize for not visiting with you. I missed you. And I missed you in the sense that there are breaking news that matter. And it may not be obvious, but let's turn to the Trump trial for a few moments. Trump goes around saying that he's going to testify, and no one believes it, including myself. So why is he saying it? He's saying it so that he can give some lift to his defense attorney's argument that he wants to mention things in his opening as if Trump is testifying, because that will be the only source for some things he says. But then when it comes time to call Trump, he'll decide, I don't know if it's really necessary. I don't think we're going to do that, and so on. Now, all the smart money says you wouldn't want, if he was your client, Trump to testify anyhow because he's terrible. And there are so many things to contradict his contradictions that he would be proven entirely unreliable. And to explain some of the things he signed and did and so forth would invite a contortion that this criminal is not up to. So that's the thinking. Now, at different times, I've been asked jocularly on the air, what do I think about Trump? I said I would love to cross-examine him. So would any decent trial lawyer. And the reason is clear, because the objective is to bring down a man so transparently alien to the truth that it's an exercise that is worthy of the best cross-examiners, and it should be done well, because it will be historic cross-examining a president, and particularly this one, as clumsy and as terrible as he is. And it's interesting, just yesterday somebody said to me that he's apparently releasing gas in the room, in this small room where they're sitting. I don't know if it's true or not, but it sort of fits the diminution of Trump as a person, as a power. And I think we've seen some of that. I think a lot these days about a guy named Hans Litten, L-I-T-T-E-N. Now, Hans was in Germany, and it was in Hitler's rising period. And Hitler's stormtroopers would go out and command respect and deference by their coercion and their violent methods and beating up people and so forth. Hans came by a circuitous route from a good family and great education and a depth of abilities to the law. And he actually sued the stormtroopers for what they had done in a civil court in Germany. Now keep in mind that when he began these proceedings, the judicial system had not yet become Nazified, if you will. And so he actually had a forum to have his claims on behalf of the citizens heard. And so this was significant. Now, I draw the parallel in America and in the Trumpification, if you will, of our judicial system. You see it like the cancerous spots on the lungs of a smoker spreading across America. We already have the cult of six on the Supreme Court. We have Judge Loose Cannon in Florida, and we have others. And they're spread across the United States, and they don't respect the law. Instead, they have an ideology, they have a loyalty, they have a Trumpification, if you will, that is compromising our judicial system. But let me get back to Hans. Hans Litten subpoenaed Hitler, had him on the witness stand for several hours, and asked him questions about the stormtroopers. And he made several important points. And I can't go over the testimony verbatim because it's been a long time, but I'm entirely certain this is accurate. Number one, he confronted him with documents that showed that the idea was to use force as a complement to their political initiatives in order to win the day. And the stormtroopers, the SA, they were the ones who carried this out. And Hitler was confronted with these pamphlets and was at a loss to deal with it. And Hans was such a careful advocate. He had gone through every loop and cubbyhole where a possible truth by Hitler could save him, and Hitler couldn't find it. Hitler was just lost in this man's ability to bring out, sort of like Trump, the obvious things that Hitler, as a younger man, was doing when he was still vulnerable to a system that had been fair, a judicial system that had been fair. And in the course of it, he did another thing. Not only did he show that the stormtroopers were being encouraged to do this as a complement to the political initiative, but that the candidacy of Hitler himself was him as a poseur. He was pretending to be a regular politician, when in fact he was nothing more than an organized political criminal. And that is at the heart of what disturbed Hitler for the rest of his life. And whenever this man's name was mentioned, Hitler would get upset about it. Now, Hitler at that time had not yet ascended into the power that he did soon have after this testimony. And the courts did then change. And so the suit that had been entertained seriously was compromised and was done with. And over the years, they arrested Hans Litten and took him to various concentration camps and literally questioned him and abused him to death. He finally committed suicide to escape not so much life as his ability to sustain the abuse that would have perhaps given names and information about others. And many said to him, why didn't he leave Germany? And it was very interesting. He said he didn't leave Germany because he could, but others could not. So he stayed. Very interesting. He was a very complicated man, and he was a hero. And he's an example of the kind of, to choose lawyers through history, who are liberty's last champions. In fact, the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers has that as a slogan. And I think it's absolutely perfect, because there are times as a good defense attorney fighting for individual rights and liberties, you stand in a courtroom and everybody looks at you like you're the strange one. That you're the one that's talking out of your channel, if you will. And that's a tragedy, and that's upon us. Now we have Trump in the courtroom now, and he's carrying on as he does. But there's one thing you have to keep in mind, and it is that consider the fact that jurors who are not running for office, and the pressure of being elected or not is not a factor in their lives. But we've had jurors who are intimidated by this process, what it means to them individually, the pressure they'll have from neighbors, the fear perhaps they have of the hoodlum Trump. This is not imagined. We've had jurors talk about this. And so it gives flesh to the bone, that is the initiative to have proceedings by which one would consider prosecuting Trump for violating gag orders. But you see the formula here. Now, what Trump is fainter as compared to Hitler, of course. And I say of course because our system is not going to be overturned easily. In fact, the trial is proof positive that our system is already belittling the nonsensical profile of the hero that Trump would paint himself to be, when he's not anything of the sort. And that's something to keep in mind. And part of me thinks that Speaker Johnson, in recent days, when he has been deciding to go forward with bills not supported by the Freedom Forum, the real crazies in the Republican conference on the House side, where Johnson is the Speaker, may reflect a realization that Trump's strength and power as the leader of the autocratic impulse in the Republican Party, and I guess in the nation. And I think it's been chilled a little bit. And Johnson has perhaps on the one hand decided, to hell with it, I'm just going to do what I think is right, which is always a good retreat, even for somebody whose every other policy is terrible. And he's done this. And so that you have Representative marginalized Green attacking the Speaker, sort of knocking her saber around like she's going to make a motion to vacate and throw him out of his position. And I think that that is maybe less likely to happen as Trump is diminished as a force in politics, and I'm not going to say reason or good policy is in the ascendant, but that old Mel Brooks line that probably applies to most of these Republicans, which is, oh my God, I got to cover my ass. He didn't say that. He said, but I got to protect my phony baloney job. And that's certainly been true of the Congress on the Republican side. The theory that the Republicans have had to do nothing and then blame the Democrats for accomplishing nothing. Interesting idea. But, you know, if you're always going to put a stick in the wheel of your moving bicycle, you're always going to have that kind of an outcome. Now, there are other things going on that are exciting, I think. One of them is that Attorney General James filed a document on Friday, and the document basically says, hey, what about this $175 million you put up for this civil case? Is that really good? Is there money to back it up? Where is it? Do you have control over it? Why have you never posted a bond in New York before? And so there's going to be a hearing on Monday about it. And if the $175 million is dissipated, then we can expect Attorney General, our New York Attorney General, to go building by building up and down Broadway and around Manhattan if she doesn't go and seize a whole cache of cash. So that's pretty interesting stuff. In addition, on Monday, not only will we have the openings, but we may start with witnesses. Now, it's very possible the judge will start witnesses on Tuesday so that people can devote their time to preparing for one and then the other. And I have already expressed my view that I would open this show to keep that jury's attention like a laser beam on what Trump did from the beginning and sell the whole case right up front. And, you know, people keep saying, well, you should put in evidence to show that, for example, if you ran with Cohen first, that what he's saying is true by other evidence. But you see, Cohen can put in some of that evidence. Like he handled all those signed checks that were signed by Trump as in furtherance of the conspiracy. He was present and had a taped conversation with Trump. He has the logic of the proceedings going on. So he is in a peculiar position to be the umbrella of the entire case, but also drive home some very powerful punches against Trump from the beginning. Now others say, oh, you can put in documents and so forth. These kinds of things are marking time. And you only have so much time to catch the attention of a jury and persuade them. And if you're dancing around the room instead of going to the main point, I think you're missing the thrust of what's important in a case like this. So those are some of my thoughts. Look up Hans Litten if you want to know about a hero who's an advocate for individual rights and liberty. And how did he fail? He didn't. The others did. Those who stood by and didn't do anything. And that's what we have to be concerned about in America. Doing too little, presuming the, quote, system will right itself without our help. We have to roll up our sleeves, speak to our neighbors, contribute to candidates, vote for sure. Do whatever we can, however small it may seem, it makes a difference because it merges, as the Robert Kennedy speech used to go, with currents from 1,000 different directions, and it's a force that cannot be denied. So here I am in my cathedral of trees, and it's quite pleasant out, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.